Yes, we are bombarded by messages on television, in the culture, in the government-run schools that gun ownership is bad. And we see cities like New York and Chicago with total gun bans for the citizens. We see states like California, New York, Illinois with incredibly draconian laws. And then we see foreign countries run by the globalists where they did the same thing. First restrict semi-auto, then register, then ban. You can only be at a hunting club. Then you can't have your gun at the hunting club. It's just totally gone. We've seen them do this over and over again, banning hunting. They're always saying, don't worry, you'll have your Second Amendment, but we're going to restrict your hunting. Also implying that the Second Amendment is only about hunting and not defense against tyranny and defense against the common street thug. There were a lot of things that the British imperial troops did that made the British citizens get mad and revolt. But the final straw at Lexington and Concord was the attempt to disarm the firearms and the ammunition. And we're right back where we started in 1775, 1776. Here we are. And today, I opened the radio show up to Obama supporters to call in and tell me what they thought. And they would say, oh, your man lost, when I wasn't even supporting Romney. And, or hey, you're crazy. We're not trying to take your guns. And I'm like, well, Chicago's banned guns. I don't know anything about that. You're crazy. So there's always this crazy attitude where they say we're crazy when we point out real facts. Dianne Feinstein, Chucky Schumer, they've all called for total gun bans. The Violence Policy Center, Sarah Brady, you can go pull up their own publications. We're going to go over some of those in a moment with Aaron Dykes, where they've said this. And wherever they're in control, they take all the guns. I mean, for heaven's sakes, Bloomberg now wants to say what you can eat and drink and what type of sugar you can have and where you can go and how many people can be in your car. I mean, these are control freaks. These are authoritarians. This is Agenda 21. This is turning the whole world into a giant re-education camp. But before I go to our reporters, Aaron Dykes and David Knight, going over the evidence of the fact that the world corporate oligarchy wants to disarm people, that the UN's done it in dozens of countries, here are just some articles right in front of me. Forbes did an analysis of the UN gun treaty that Obama is publicly supporting like he did a few years ago. Now they've probably got the votes in the Senate to ratify it. And you can go read the UN treaty. Here's Forbes saying UN agreement should have all gun owners up in arms. Enact tougher licensing requirements, creating additional bureaucratic red tape for legal firearms ownership. Confiscate and destroy all unauthorized civilian firearms, including those that are semi-automatic. Ban the trade and sale of private ownership of semi-automatic weapons, any that have magazines. And it just goes on and on. Create an international gun registry, clearly setting up the stage for full-scale gun confiscation. In short, overriding national sovereignty. But listen, I didn't just believe that. I went and scanned through the treaty, and we wrote multiple articles. Here's one by Aaron Dykes, Bombshell, Leaked UN Treaty, Does Ban Guns, and it goes through the subsections and links to the UN treaty. So it's not just us claiming it, because the caller's like, oh, something on your site, that didn't. No, it's links to the treaty. And then we even have the treaty posted on our site below it in case the UN ever pulled it. I mean, look outside the UN in New York. That's a civilian citizen, 357 Magnum, 6-shot. I've got one of those. My dad has that very gun. Awesome guns that he bought from a cop when I was a little kid. He gave me one. I've been looking at that gun since I was 2 years old. I've got one of the guns. That gun. Beautiful rose handle. I've got that gun. I got a 357 right here under my desk. Now, excuse me, I'm starting to rant. We need to get this report through quickly here. So, go to our article, Bombshell, Leaked UN Treaty, Does Ban Guns. And we have the footnotes there. You link through and you read this from UN.org. And it's the Department of Small Arms Restriction, UNIDIR, where they say civilian ownership of firearms threatens a legitimate power monopoly of the state. They said that back in July 7th of 2001 and couldn't get it through. I mean, we've read what the policymakers who write this come up with, and now they're back. We're going to get to that in a moment. But continuing, here is Reuters today. After Obama wins, U.S. backs new UN arms treaty talks. And that's disarming third world countries in Africa and other places so the globalists can come in and mow them down. Incredible. Remember Obama in the second debate? We've got those clips. You can pull it up for yourself. He said, I don't want to just ban semi-automatics. That's assault rifles. I want to ban the handguns. Well, that's what Dianne Feinstein has introduced last session and says she's going to introduce in the new session of Congress coming up in about a month and a half after Christmas. And I've got those articles. Guys, punch up the Google search here. Just type in gun control, type any of those searches in. We can punch in my computer that's right here. And just type in Obama assault weapons ban. Boom. Literally dozens of articles today. Look right here. Senator Feinstein looking to introduce new assault weapons ban. And this is what the Sacramento Bee is reporting today, that it's a physical ban. Not just from sale or new manufacturer. They want you to turn them in. That's in the Sacramento Bee. Okay. Oh, but look at ABC News. This is back in October. Boom. Obama calls for renewal of assault weapons ban. Okay, I've shown a few of the articles. We're going to go to Aaron and to David Knight here in a moment with other angles and more proof of this and their own quotes that they want to totally ban our guns because government wants total power over people. But here's the caller listening to us in Tennessee on WBCR, our local affiliate in Knoxville, calling in today, laughing at us and saying he's never seen any proof. So we'll go to that clip, and here we are, bud. We got it all for you right now. Let's go to a few excerpts of that call. William in Tennessee, do you support Obama?
Yes, I do.
Well, tell me all about how great it is.
Well, to be honest with you, Alex, you know, he has not mentioned banning guns. And I defy you to tell me where he has.
Part of it is seeing if we can get an assault weapons ban reintroduced. An assault weapons ban reintroduced.
Joe, I mean, you just say, I defy you to show you. I mean, sir, have you seen them ban guns in all these other Western countries?
No. I mean, it's fun to have, but that's not going to happen here. Look, because it's a conspiracy website does not mean it's true.
Well, sir, you just said it. You said the word conspiracy theory and that nobody wants our guns. And I guess you're denying that the rest of the Democratic Party, that they're always calling to ban guns. You're saying the Violence Policy Center, Sarah Brady, big contributors. Are you saying Rahm Emanuel didn't say that he wants to restrict our gun ownership and that he wants to put us on a no-gun buy list with no judge or no jury? Are you saying that's not true either?
That is, if you are on the no-fly list because you are known as maybe a possible terrorist, you cannot buy a handgun in America. That is the right thing to take into the election, and it's the right policy. If you're on that no-fly list, your access to the right to bear arms is canceled.
Are you really saying the one person having an opinion...
Hold on, put him back on hold. Sir, in the city Obama's from, is there a gun ban for the general population?
I don't know. I don't live in Chicago. I have no idea.
There you go. You live in a world of ignorance. All you do is say the word conspiracy theory.
God, you're nuts. You are a freaking wacko. You know that?
Mm-hmm. You bet. Crazy like a fox, too. Mm-hmm.
You're a wacko. Look, pal, quoting your own website does not make you an expert. I have looked everywhere in the papers. I have done research myself. They're not going to ban guns.
Okay, so I gave you proof. We just went to his clip. We're going to give you more proof now. I mean, I've just got stacks of it. Chicago Tribune. After Obama wins, U.S. backs new arms treaty talks. I was watching CNN during a break today on the radio. They're saying they're coming to physically get all the semi-autos. The ATF's introduced rulemaking to ban most shotguns. I mean, it's all happening. Aaron Dykes, we've got to move quick here because we've got to go back to Mike Adams, who's waiting in the other studio. But break down just in the little bit of a re-pooling of info, because we've already done this research 100 times, what you think about that caller.
First of all, it is a fact there was an assault weapons ban signed into, quote, law under Clinton. It lasted 10 years. It expired in 2004 under sunset provisions. So it's not exactly wacky to suggest it. You go to Dianne Feinstein. You just showed how she's reintroducing gun control.
Yeah, we're going to document cam this in a moment.
Meeting with the FBI and the ATF right now, this week, this month, on new provisions. So here's Dianne Feinstein, May 31st, 2012, recorded in the Sacramento Bee Voters Guide as she's running for Senate. Question, what special interests in Washington have too much power? She says, guns. I wrote the assault weapons ban that was the law of the land for a decade. So she's involved. She also brags about how she got the gun ban passed in San Francisco over handguns, despite the fact she has a gun permit, a concealed carry permit. She later melted it down into a cross as a stunt. Now she is trying to introduce a new assault weapons ban. It's in the Market Daily News that she wants to ban all assault rifles, high-capacity magazines, and pistol grips, and also refers to banning the sale of, quote, weapons in possession. That means private sales. You've got Obama calling for a renewal of assault weapons ban 3 weeks ago at the debate. He says part of it is seeing if we can get an assault weapons ban reintroduced, but the other part is looking at other sources of the violence, because in Chicago, it's not AK-47s. They are using cheap handguns, alluding to a handgun ban. Not surprising, since you go back to State Senator Obama as a candidate who filled out a voter survey in Illinois. Question number 35. Do you support the legislation to ban the manufacture, sale, and possessions of handguns? Yes. Ban assault weapons? Yes. Mandatory waiting periods and background checks? Yes. There's a series of bizarre denials where they claimed a staffer filled out that survey and that it wasn't Obama, despite...
And again, that's mainstream news reporting on them when they tried to claim they hadn't, but it came out they had. Again, they play these games with people.
But it doesn't really matter, because the 2003 survey he filled out for the same group, Illinois Voters Independent Preceding Organization, 2003, running for U.S. Senate, he filled out a similar survey. Question 35, do you support the legislation to ban manufacture, sale, and possession of handguns? This time, it's not a simple yes, it's a whole statement. While a complete ban on handguns is not politically practicable, doesn't say he doesn't want it, says it's not practicable, he believes in reasonable restrictions on the sale and possession of handguns, and the statement goes on. He, again, says, yes, he'd like to ban assault weapons. He says handguns and ammunition.
I mean, give me a break. It's from Chicago, where they've totally disarmed them.
Then you've got his Attorney General, Eric Holder, who, again, was in the Clinton administration during the assault weapons ban. In 1995, he's on video saying we must brainwash people against guns. Quote, what we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people, and make them think it's not cool. Talks about doing it like cigarettes, and then says we need to do this every day of the week. We really just need to brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
And if you watch the whole clip, he's there at a media thing admitting he's met with the media saying put anti-gun messages, private ownership messages in your programs.
That's correct. Flash forward to February 2009, a month after Obama enters office. Holder revives talk of an assault weapons ban. Quote, he tells a reporter question, quote, well, as President Obama indicated during the campaign, there are just a few gun-related changes that we'd like to make, and among them would be to reinstitute the ban on the sale of assault weapons. I think that will have a positive impact in Mexico at a minimum, alluding to Fast and Furious scandal.
Yeah, after he ships guns into Mexico.
After making that statement in 2009, Rahm Emanuel, then chief of staff for Obama, tells Holder to STFU, that means shut up expletive, on guns.
By the way, he's the one that says they just want to put you on a list where you can't own guns, no judge, no jury, a no gun buy list. We have that video clip. Let's play just a short piece, just a long speech, where he says, this is Holder, that they're going to need to brainwash the public. Here it is.
And what we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
So there you go. The brainwashing continues. Now, I know you got a lot more, Aaron, but in the interest of time, go ahead and go through the rest.
Holder also told Congress in 2012 during Fast and Furious testimony in the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee a statement extremely similar to the one he made in 2009. This administration has consistently favored the reinstitution of the assault weapons ban. It is something that we think was useful in the past with regard to the reduction that we've seen in crime, and certainly would have a positive impact on our relationship.
All right, let's stop right there, because we're pretty much just repeating him, saying it over and over again. What we're seeing illustrated here is that so-called liberals are really authoritarians of another stripe, and they think they control reality. Because they always do this. They say what terms are, they say what meanings are, and they say, we're not going to try to take your guns. We're just reintroducing stuff to physically take them, not just ban their sale or manufacture. So they play these games hoping everyone's ignorant, and they try to just laugh at you with an appeal to everyone else's stupidity, hoping that you don't know. I mean, this is a classic military tactic to say we're not assaulting you, or to attack, you know, like at Waco, the tanks ramming the building, and they're saying this is not an assault. This is what's going on with these people. Great job, Aaron. Now let's move to our reporter, David Knight. And understand, this caller called today, and in about 30 minutes, we just grabbed up some of the documentation. I mean, there's all sorts of Handgun Control Incorporated on the floor, saying we're going to total abolition of people's guns. I mean, we've seen what they do in countries and cities and states they control. David Knight, just looking at the UN treaty here tonight, and first off, any other points you'd like to make about what you've just heard?
Well, what Aaron was just talking about was internal laws on assault weapon bans and that sort of thing. What broke in the news today, and here's headlines at 6:40 a.m. this morning, November the 8th, no votes against finalizing global arms trade treaty at UN General Assembly. Basically, they've got the strongest, they were meeting starting on Tuesday, the day we had our election. The UN was meeting about gun control, and they just finalized it today, 2 days later. And they had a couple of abstentions, but they had the most support they've had for this yet. Now, they tried this back in July. On July 26th, they had a vote, and the vote didn't pass. And one of the reasons it didn't pass was because Fast and Furious was breaking at the time. And what they were telling everybody at the time was, don't worry, this isn't about your handguns. This is only about transfer of weapons between countries. But that's exactly what Fast and Furious was about. So that was something that was really kind of an embarrassment to the Obama administration. They really didn't want to get into this until after the election. And they were telling everybody at the time, the word was out that they were going to revisit this immediately after the election. Well, here we are 2 days after the election, and they're right on top of it. And they're saying they're going to have the next meeting is going to be for the actual to finalize this is going to be in March. By that time, the Senate will be a little bit more Democrat, so they've got a better chance of getting this through. But the whole idea that this is just about transfer of weapons between countries is not really anything that's anybody's buying, because part of regulating this transfer is registration and tracking. That's going to be
well. It says to control international, we've got to control internal, and it says states have a right to have guns in the subsections that we list, but not individuals.
Right.
It says the state can curtail that, and I've put up on screen. Just type in map of world gun laws, and if you just type that into a search engine, you can see mainline news and government's breakdowns of this. And if you look at maps of this, almost the entire world is disarmed. Green is totally disarmed. Dark green almost totally. Purple, a few guns. But black is a lot of guns. Well, look at the United States. Okay, the United States is it, folks. Every government wants those guns. I mean, look at communist China, just like England now. I mean, this is incredible. Canada is pretty much partially disarmed. Look at South America. Look at Central America. Look at Mexico.
Yeah, in Mexico, only civilians can purchase small caliber firearms, and they can only purchase them from the Defense Department. What kind of gun violence do they have? I mean, compare that to Switzerland, where the government requires the citizens to have military weapons, right?
But I've been told that the Defense Department decides if they're going to let you have a gun.
Right.
So it's almost impossible.
Right, exactly. And they don't have any gun violence there, do they?
Continue with what the UN's doing, because here's the bottom line, folks. They're coming for the guns, and they're going to play this game and go, we're not coming for your guns. The TSA is not groping. Remember, the TSA will grope people and go in their pants and say, well, we don't call that groping. Or they'll strip search you and say, well, we don't call that strip searching. It's this mind game they play where they control reality.
And this is developing exactly like we saw with the NDAA, where, Obama said he didn't want it, then he was going to do it, and, don't worry, I'm not going to do that, And you're seeing the same type of thing. When they get this passed, they're going to have the Senate is going to have to ratify this amendment. Once they ratify it, the UN will be able to change the details of how these things are implemented.
That's the key. Tell people about that.
Yeah, that's the key. The key is that they need a supermajority of the, once the U.S. Senate ratifies it, and they're going to need to have 67 senators to ratify it. Once we're into that treaty and we've signed on to this regime, now the UN retains control, and so the UN, with just a simple majority, can go in and change the details of how this is working. And remember, this is all about tracking. It's all about registration.
We're talking about a treaty where other governments now get to come in and control our country.
Yes, exactly.
Just like Law of the Sea Treaty, all of it.
Exactly.
And they brag it's a global government run by banks being formed.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another aspect from the UN as well, which kind of plays out kind of like Agenda 21. It's a quote-unquote voluntary system where they come up with, it's called a program of action to prevent, combat, and eradicate illicit trade in small arms and light weapons in all its aspects. It's a very long title. But they modified that the first week of September. So after the, actually that ran from 27 August to 7 September. That was right after they lost the UN arms trade treaty, which they said they were going to revisit, which they're now coming back. But they also then came up with this program of action. The program of action goes in and suggests legislation that local governments or national governments can create for gun control. So that's what's driving a lot of this internal regulation, is coming out of a blueprint that is created in the UN.
No, exactly. We sign on to it just like UNESCO, and then the bureaucrats adopt it. I mean, this is global governance. David Knight, thank you so much. Aaron, any other comments?
I would just add that the United Nations has passed dozens of treaties on this. Among them is a treaty in Africa where they banned even legal small arms. So they've gradually... Oh, no, there's no... The UN goes in and murders everybody and takes their guns. I mean... But they have a treaty on paper saying they will confiscate legal small arms.
And what is it like for you to hear a caller just saying we're lying?
He's completely out of touch with reality. He just wants to argue about Obama, his hero. Is the person he relates to.
Well, guys, I want to be on this 24/7 because the attack's on. We knew it was coming. And, wow, I mean, it's happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job, guys. Okay, that was a little bit long of a report. I want to thank, again, Mike Adams for coming and doing the news tonight. We're going to throw it back to Mike, and then we're going to also, of course, give you that report on aspartame. So we'll be back here in a few minutes. Key information you just saw. We put a lot of work into this. Get this out to everybody. This is the proof. They're coming for your guns. They want you to be their slave. Slaves are disarmed. First gun laws in this country were against newly freed slaves. All right, back to Mike Adams.